Quickly going to switch now to our Abuja studios where we're joined by Fatia Tahiru, who's a Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP in Nigeria. Fatia, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
Hi, Ebika. I'm fine. Thanks.
Thank you very much for joining us. Let's quickly talk about, what we're talking about Ngarannam. I don't know if I've pronounced that very well, the homecoming. Tell us about what inspired this, storytelling to talk about the development work you're doing in northeastern Nigeria.
Right. UNDP used Turkey's fame to do this, to tell the story for many reasons. One of which was to be able to inspire people to understand the story from the eyes of three people. We used three people from that community, Falmata, Hassan, and Amina, and to see their lives after having gone through so much hardship in having been displaced from Ngarannam, and now the story of hope, story of them being able to relocate. Why did we use a docu-film? It was because it's inspiring. It also gives us hope, and it shows the resilience of these people.
So, filmmaking and storytelling has always been a very good way to, spread information and all of that. But aside from that, how long has this project been in the works for you?
Right. The Regional Stabilization Facility has been on for many years. It's its fifth year. And it's not just in the northeast of Nigeria. It's also in the Lake Chad Basin, in Niger, Chad, and Cameroon. And one of the things that we do is moving from one community to another where peace has been restored, to see how we can rebuild these communities better by putting in infrastructure and other facilities to give a better life for the people.
Now, everyone is very aware that, many parts of Nigeria are going through, insecurity issues, whether it's the Southeast, South-South, but the Northeast has been in the news for quite a while now, going on 2 decades, plus minus, What's different is happening now? Because a lot of Nigerians, unfortunately, have become desensitized to a lot of the news that we hear from the Northeast, and it's something that is still happening in some parts of that region. What is going on there? What should Nigerians know at this point, if you can help us in any way?
Currently, there's been a lot of people more motivated to sort of be able to build back their lives. And we are at the forefront of supporting this objective. So unlike the past where you've had a lot of crisis, there's been a relative calm in that community. And we're supporting those efforts led by the government of Borno State, then UNDP and other partners, to see how we can encourage these people to restart their lives so that things are back to normal.
Yeah. So, I think I did hear that over 2 million people were displaced from their homes as a result of the insurgency and insecurity issues in the northeast. That's a massive number. Now, Ngarannam has about 5,000 people that were relocated. What was the criteria for choosing the people? And because it's a huge gesture, but what was the criteria for the 5,000 so far, I believe?
Right. The government of Borno led the selection process and the allocation process of the houses, mainly because we wanted to ensure there's ownership, and it was led by the people. So there was a lot of criteria that was put in place. The major priority was to ensure that the original inhabitants of Ngarannam are the ones that will be going back to that community. There was a thorough screening process to ensure, obviously, the security measures being checked. And 5,000 people, like you said, have now been relocated. There are plans to move in more. This is a coalition that is being worked with other partners, and we're trying to see how we can get more homes built for people to move back.
Yeah. So who makes up this coalition? I know the Borno State government, the UNDP. Is there anybody else who's a part of this coalition that brought this to life?
Yes, we have the government of Germany, we have the federal government of Nigeria as well, we have the UK government, government of Sweden, the EU, and the Netherlands.
Okay, so is this an ongoing?
But
Sorry, go on.
yes, but I also wanted to say part of the coalition and a key stakeholder in the coalition are the people of Ngarannam, because we needed the willpower and determination for them to go back to that community, knowing fully well that they've spent over 10 years in IDP camps. So that's willingness to be able to go back to that community and be independent. I see them as a key part of the coalition.
Yeah. Just very quick clarification there. Is everybody who was relocated to Ngarannam from Ngarannam, or did you get people on different criteria?
Oh, no, all of the people that moved back are from Ngarannam. Of course, you have children that were born in IDP camps that have moved back as well with their family. But the screening process was very thorough. There were interviews, if you were to watch the instances where people were asked, and they would tell you how their great-grandparents were from Ngarannam and what they did where they were, whilst they were there, and all of that. So there was a thorough verification process.
Okay. So, I mean, the housing is amazing because, like you said, they spent a decade plus minus, in IDP camps. Most of them were born there, so they don't even know where their homes are. But now some of them have gone back home to new homes, courtesy of the UNDP and, of course, the Borno State government and all the other coalition members. But what about other facilities, schools, businesses, healthcare? What are the provisions around that?
Okay, the regional stabilization facility is an integrated program, so we make sure that all the key factors are in place, including infrastructure. So in terms of infrastructure, we have market stalls for the people, we have hospitals, we have a school for the community, we have security posts all over. And then in terms of livelihoods and empowerment programs, working with the state government, we worked, as well as the people in the community, we identified that most of them are either farmers, they deal with livestock, and some of them do small businesses. So we gave them grants to start up businesses. We gave them livestock and also gave them seeds for their farms and farm inputs. So the hope is with time, it will be more sustainable. They'll be able to, live as normal. So they relocated in October, and I went back there some months back, and I was quite pleased to see that, life was going back as normal. People are living their lives normally. You would see parts of it in the movie as well. And it's really inspiring because it further reemphasizes how resilient Nigerians are despite all the hardship people have gone through. We move on and we take back our lives.
Yeah. I mean, what was the toughest part of this entire thing for you and your team, besides maybe the physical side of things, the actual building? What was the toughest part of this journey, to get people relocated back home?
I think majorly, Ebuka, that would be fear. Having gone through a lot, so there's that psychological aspect of it. People remembering, as they go back to those communities, what they had gone through. So it takes a lot of persuasion, and it will take a lot of time to heal. And once in a while, you do hear them talking about the fears of being reattacked and all of that. But we are working with the military, the police, and they even have a vigilante groups in their community to help ensure that there's security at all times. And hopefully this wouldn't happen again.
Did you have people who didn't want to go back? Because 10 years is a long time for some to have spent in an IDP camp. Most of them have set up their lives there somehow. Not that it's the most convenient place. But like you also said, the additional fear of going back home. Did you have anyone who was selected but didn't want to go back? And how did you manage the situation?
So the major issue was, one, to ensure that people would voluntarily move back, because it's important that people are not forced to relocate. And we ensured that would happen. That was easy because there were more people willing to move back compared to the number of houses we had in place. So it was easy to get people that were really willing to go back and be able to set up their lives. Another thing that we see in the movie is that Nigeria is a country where you don't have any barriers to movement. So you'll find the story, for instance, of Hassan, who is from Ngarannam and was lucky enough to get a place, but he used that to relocate his family and currently is in Lagos trying to make a living. So it shows that despite, all of that, he's happy with the security situation in Ngarannam and has been able to leave his family, but is seeking a better life in Lagos.
That's really, really good to hear. Now, what do you say to people or critics who might say, this resettling situation does not solve the actual case or the actual issue of, PTSD and violence and all of that that's gone on in that region. What do you say to that? Like you said, that's no longer necessarily the story of most of these communities, but is that a fair criticism to say, why are you relocating them back to these places without actually solving the root causes of all of this insurgency issues we've had over the years?
We find that one of the key issues that we needed to build on was trust between the government and its people. And we felt with the Regional Stabilization Facility, having people move back to that community would strengthen the bond and the trust between the people and the community. You'll find in the video, in the docufilm, that the government had promised to its people in Ngarannam that they would be relocating back in no time. Having that become a reality, further further strengthens the bond and the issue of trust. So we're hoping that as these elements of trust are built stronger, we'll be able to reverse some of the effects of terrorism and insurgency in those communities.
All right. You did mention, the Borno state government. You've mentioned a few other countries or governments around the world who were supporting. Was the federal government of Nigeria involved in any way and in what capacity?
Federal government of Nigeria chairs the board of the Regional Stabilization Facility. It's chaired by the Minister of Finance, Budget and Planning, together with UNDP. It has also committed some funds to the tune of $1 million to this program and has brought in other key government stakeholders, including the military, the police, and the ministries that are relevant to this project to be on board.
Is Ngarannam a one-off project? Are we going to see more of this in other communities, maybe?
Yes, this is one of about 8 of similar projects we've done within the Northeast. We're hoping with the stabilization facility we will have 15 and also move on to other communities to do similar work.
Awesome stuff. Now you've talked a lot, of course, about the docu-film, UNDP Nigeria and Ngarannam, the Homecoming. How do we access it if I wanted to watch it, or if someone watching now wants to see it? Where do we find it, if at all?
We're hoping to put it on YouTube very soon. They're doing the premieres all over the world. We've done one in Lagos. There'll be another one in New York. So yeah, it's gathering a lot of momentum, and hopefully it'll be on YouTube shortly. But it's something that I think it's a must-watch because it does actually tell the stories of people that usually we would not be able to tell their stories in a very dignified manner, and it's very inspiring. I would advise people to watch it because for me, it gave me back that. It reminded me that for every day we have an opportunity to live our lives better.
Awesome. We can't wait. Hopefully it's out on YouTube sooner rather than later. Thank you very much, Fatih Atahiru, for joining us in this conversation, and thank you for all the good work that you and your team at the UNDP do. We hope to see more of that, and my regards to everyone.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.